The rain fell in relentless sheets, and my windshield wipers struggled to keep up. The clock on the dashboard read 11:43 p.m., and the empty highway stretched before me like an endless ribbon of black. I was driving home after a late meeting, trying to shake off the fatigue creeping into my bones. The glow of the headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the wet pavement and casting fleeting shadows on the trees lining the road. It had been a long day, and the thought of a warm bed was the only thing keeping me going. My phone sat on the passenger seat, its GPS map glowing faintly. The route was straightforward, but something about the highway felt unfamiliar tonight. Maybe it was the rain or the lack of other cars, but the silence pressed against me like a weight. I spotted him in the distance, a lone figure standing by the side of the road, drenched and shivering. He was waving one arm while clutching something to his chest with the other. My first instinct was to keep driving. After all, who picks up strangers on a deserted highway at this hour? But as I got closer, I saw the desperation on his face. Against my better judgment, I slowed down. I rolled down the window just enough to hear him. "Car broke down," he said, his voice barely audible over the rain. He held up his phone, its screen cracked and dark. "No signal? Can you give me a lift to the next town?" There was something off about him. His clothes were too neat for someone caught in a storm, and his eyes had a strange intensity. But the weather was brutal, and leaving him felt cruel. He climbed into the passenger seat, bringing with him a sharp chill. The air inside the car felt heavier, colder, like the storm had followed him in. He didn't say much at first, just thanked me and stared straight ahead. I tried to make small talk, asking where he was headed, but his answers were vague, almost rehearsed. As we drove, I noticed something peculiar. He kept glancing at the glove compartment, his gaze flickering back and forth like he was calculating something. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. "So, what were you doing out here so late?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He hesitated before answering, "Just passing through." The GPS screen flickered, and then the route disappeared entirely. "Great," I muttered under my breath, tapping the screen to no avail. The stranger leaned closer, his face eerily calm. "Don't worry," he said. "Just keep driving. The road will take you where you need to go." The way he said it sent a shiver down my spine. The trees outside seemed denser now, their branches clawing at the edges of the road. The headlights barely pierced the darkness, and the rain grew heavier, drowning out all other sounds. The stranger didn't seem bothered. In fact, he seemed more relaxed, leaning back in his seat as though he had all the time in the world. Out of nowhere, a gas station appeared on the side of the road. Its neon sign flickered weakly, and the building looked like it hadn't been maintained in years.
The woman from my car and the
"I
man
need to
from the
stop
roadside
for a second,"
were now unnervingly
I said,
alike,
hoping to shake
pale,
the stranger's
gaunt,
presence
and
for
void
even a
of any
moment.
humanity.
He didn't respond,
"Why are you doing
just
this?"
stared
I
at the
stammered,
station with
my
an
voice
unreadable
breaking.
expression.
The woman
The
smiled,
inside
her lips
was
stretching
worse
too wide.
than the outside.
"We didn't choose you,"
The
she
shelves
said,
were
her
half
voice layered
empty,
with echoes.
and a thick layer of
The road
dust
did.
coated everything.
Before I could respond,
An old man
the
stood
asphalt
behind the
beneath my
counter,
feet shifted,
his eyes
and the
sharp
ground began
and
to ripple like
unblinking.
liquid.
"You shouldn't
I
be out
stumbled,
on this
but my
road,"
fall felt
he
endless.
said without
The
looking
fog
up.
thickened,
My
swallowing
stomach
everything
tightened.
around me as I
"Why
descended
not?"
into the abyss.
I asked.
When
He
I opened
finally
my
met
eyes,
my
I
gaze,
was back in my
because
car,
it doesn't
sitting in the
lead
driver's seat.
anywhere.